Hey River friends and family. So I wanted to get real with you here on this Thursday afternoon for a second. I tend to be my own worst critic. I don't know if any of you can relate to that, but I can say some not so kind words to myself, and I didn't even really realize I was doing it or that this was a problem for me. I started going to counseling almost a year ago now, and we have talked a lot about what I'm telling myself, the narrative that I'm feeding myself. And it's not always very kind. And I've also realized that oftentimes, really all of the time, the things that I'm telling myself are never things that God would say to me or want said to me, right? And so as I think about becoming a parent soon, I am 34 weeks as of today, I would never say those things to my child, my daughter. I don't want her to think of herself the way that I tend to think of myself, those words like failure and not good enough and all of those things, right? And so words are powerful, and the words that we tell ourselves are powerful. And so I'm having to relearn in my mind how to talk to myself, right? And in this time of quarantine, I've had a lot of those thoughts surface, and I've been able to have a lot of extra practice learning how to reframe how I think about myself and the way that I operate. And I was thinking about it, and our words are powerful, but even more so, God's words are powerful. And I think about it, I was reading a devotional book, and I haven't been able to get it out of my head. So I think it's a sign that I need to share. So in this book, he was talking about how in the beginning God created something from nothing, and all he had to do was use words to speak it into existence, right? And I've heard that before, and I've thought about that and how awesome it is that, like, God, all he had to do was say, "Let there be light," and there was light, right? But do we put that same correlation of power behind his words in other things that he says, specifically the things that he says about you and about me, right? Because he said he has a lot to say about you and me, and we don't often think about it as all he had to do was speak it into existence, and it was real. It was apparent, right? And so when you think about these words, think about how real they are just because God is saying them. That makes them real, right? Not because you have to do anything or earn it or be good enough. Because God says so, it is truth. And so think about these words and the power behind them because God says so. I'm going to read them for you. He says, "You are his chosen ones," in Colossians 3:12. "You are loved," Ephesians 5:25. "You are provided for," Matthew 6:32 through 33. "You are protected," in Psalm 18:2. "You are a child of God," and in 1 John 3:1. And because he says so, it's true, and we can believe it. And so I want you, if you're anything like me, to be thinking about how you're talking to yourself, the words that you're using to yourself, and remind yourself what God says to be true about you. I hope you guys have a good day and a good rest of the week. Thanks.